Welcome, welcome. Thanks everyone for coming on in and being here today. If I think most people are off screen right now, that's fine. Could anyone give me like a thumbs up if you can hear me and see the slides? Just want to make sure everything's working well. Thumbs up. Okay, good. All right, well, we are going to dive in. This is the Source Service Scholar Program info session. My name is Lydia Hickey. I am Source Assistant Director, and this is my colleague. I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi everyone, I'm Janae Johnson, pronouns she, her, hers, and I'm the Assistant Director for Academic Service Learning. And Lydia and I, we co-lead the Source Service Scholars Program, and happy to have you all today.
Awesome. All right. Well, with that, I'm going to dive in. A couple of things that I will note, though, as we're getting started. This session is being recorded, so if you have to leave early or anything like that, we will have this recorded and posted on our website, so no worries there. And then obviously, if there's anything not covered in this session that you still have questions about, we will have time for Q&A at the end as well. And we're always happy to follow up with folks outside of the session too, if there's any questions you think of later. But some things we're going to cover today. We'll talk about just a quick intro to Source, our center, who we are and what we do, and our Johns Hopkins University Community Engagement Principles. We'll give an introduction to the Source Service Scholars Program. We'll do a quick overview of the projects that are available for this upcoming round of applications, student expectations, responsibilities, some tips for the application, and then, like I mentioned, we'll have some time for FAQs as well. All right, so about Source. We are the Community Engagement and Service Learning Center for the 3 health professional schools of Johns Hopkins University. So that covers public health, nursing, and medicine. And we work with the health professional schools and Baltimore community nonprofits and community organizations in mutually beneficial partnerships that promote health and social justice. In all of those partnerships, we include our core values, which are reciprocity, justice, service, and collaboration. The Johns Hopkins University's Principles of Community Engagement, you might see these across a couple of different centers. For example, I know the Urban Health Institute also uses these core community values. But this is how we build our partnership and how we practice service learning through shared vision and values, mutuality and respect, transparency and communication, shared decision-making, and commitment. So one of the things that we focus on in this project in particular, but other core programming for Source as well, is something that's called critical service learning. This is really different from what you might consider volunteering, where in a lot of cases you might go to a site, commit to a project for a few hours. You may or may not learn anything about the organization or the community that you're supporting. And then when you kind of leave at the end of that day or shift or whatever it may be, in a lot of cases, that's kind of the end of that relationship or the end of any progress there. And not to say that volunteering is bad, because certainly at Source, we do have things like our days of service, which if you haven't already engaged in, you're certainly welcome to. But those are all things that are super helpful for the community. But we just want to clarify that the Source Service Scholars being a longitudinal service experience, we are really focused on critical service learning, which incorporates social change, building authentic relationships, and the redistribution of power at the core of our work. So some things about the Source Service Scholars Program in particular. So this is a unique opportunity for you as a student to make a long-term commitment to one of our Baltimore community-based organizations, aka CBO. You'll see that acronym a lot. We require 125 hours minimum of service. It ends up being about 125 to 150 hours of service across the academic year. That breaks down to, I'd say, about 3 to 5 hours per week throughout the course of your service. This includes monthly academy session and source advising with myself and or Janae. And those do count towards your hours as well, the academy sessions and advising. This program does have a stipend of $1,875, and your service is typically July through May. With this round, you will, if you do get invited to interviews, you'll be interviewing throughout July and making final decisions throughout July. So your service for this round would technically begin in about August, but we'll dive a little bit more into what that schedule breakdown looks like later. But this is something that lasts through the duration of what we consider the academic year. You maintain a consistent presence with your partnering community-based organization throughout the project. So, you know, sometimes things might ebb and flow a little bit, and that just takes communication between you and your community partner. For example, you know, we know that you're students first, obviously. So if you have an exam one particular week that you really need to focus on and study for, you might only do 1 hour of service that week or 0 hours of service that week, and then do additional hours of service the following week to make up for it. All of those things are completely fine, so long as you communicate that to your community-based organization ahead of time and they understand what your commitment and your presence is going to look like. This program is open to any student who is enrolled full-time in the Johns Hopkins University Schools of Public Health and Nursing. And for medicine, it's only for the MD programs, your years 1 through 4 only. That's the only program that you're allowed to, in the School of Medicine, do this level of participation with. So just want to highlight that. And then when you're on this project, you're not an intern, you're not a volunteer, you're actually working as a project manager. So that's a very clear distinction that we want to make with this project in particular. You are leading a team of student volunteers that you are recruiting and engaging. It's a minimum of 4 students, but you have the opportunity to engage more students. It really depends on your project and the needs of your programming and what you and your community-based organization agree on in terms of need for service for your project. I'm going to hand things over to my colleague Janae to, excuse me, my apologies. I have one more slide and I'll hand things over. So some other things about the Source Service Scholars Program. You receive training and guidance from Source. Some of our academy sessions will cover things like service learning theories and reflection practices, interprofessional competencies that will grow you as a leader. And in your ability to work with your community-based organization in leadership and to manage your volunteers. And then you'll also receive training and guidance for project management, volunteer recruitment, and delivering and reporting on outcomes. Trainings are delivered through the Source Service Academy that we meet 1 time per month. August through April. You get a little bit of a break like December, January, when a lot of folks are on your winter holidays. But otherwise, we meet August through April. And that service breaks down to, it's about 3 hours per month in person for those mandatory sessions. You do get that full schedule ahead of time once you're accepted to the program. And then you're also assigned to one of us, Janae or myself, Lydia, for one-on-one advising and consultations as well. All right, now I'm going to hand things over to my colleague Janae to take us through some of the next steps with our community-based organization projects.
Yeah. All right. So we'll do a brief overview of the CBO project. So just a little bit more insight about the projects. These are projects that our CBOs have developed. They've identified a primary preceptor, and they also have a secondary preceptor, which we'll talk about in a little bit as well. We have a total of 15 source service scholars that we bring on each year. We already got 5 scholars matched for the project for round 1, and then of course round 2 that has just opened on yesterday. And we are seeking about 10 candidates for the projects as well. You all are not here to be interns or anything. So it's not just like filing papers or stapling stuff. Like, you're actually a project manager. You're going to work on that project from start to finish. So as you all are in the application phase, make sure that you are reading about these projects before you're actually thinking about which one you'd like to select. A little bit more insight into what I mean by that you all are project managers. So again, you're going to focus on a specific project. And again, of course, it is to do with the social justice issue. So it is still service learning work. It is a mutually designed plan of action. So you and your preceptors will work together early on, as Lydia mentioned, with the session. So in about like August, when you all get here, you all will decide what exactly is the plan of action. What are the tasks that we need to get to the overall deliverable outcome at the end of the project towards the end of the term. Brings on a team of volunteers. So again, you'll be responsible for recruiting about 3 to 4 volunteers as well to assist with this year-long initiative project. And it's a collaborative project. So it's not something that we want you all to just do in isolation. We want you working with your community-based organization, working with their populations, as well as helping lead your volunteers. So this is not something that you all can think that you're going to do independently all day and just have a computer and be able to work alone. It's really a collaborative project from start to finish. So some of the examples of projects that we have like community outreach projects. So a lot of times our partners are wanting to even connect with other organizations that may be doing similar work as them. So maybe building those things, as well as like social media outreach. I think it was really funny. We had one of our SSS scholars who one of the tasks that a part of her project was increasing the social media engagement. And for her presentation, like, she had all the stats laid out of how much the engagement on social media has increased since she's taken over with her volunteers on the project. So a lot of different ways that your CBO can incorporate these different types of projects for your work. Advocacy, so again, it can be an awareness campaign. I know, for instance, we do have like more HIV awareness projects this time. And so these are just different things that you may see. And then different program design. So maybe there's already a program that they have for literacy. However, they want to develop a new program to also help not just the students, but the parents as well. That's also an option. And then maybe an extension of something that already exists within the organization. So a lot of times these organizations have been around for so long, they're wanting to understand, let's evaluate the impact that we had here. Let's see what is it that we maybe need to do to revamp one of the programs or projects that we're currently working on. So there's a multitude of different types of projects that can be had by these CBOs. So just make sure that you are paying attention to what type of projects it falls under and what you're looking for. All right, and so for round 2, we do have our 10 projects. We have Baltimore Healthy Babies. We also have Free State Justice, again, which is one of our advocacy type projects. We have the Goodwill Excel Center, Heart Smiles. We also have Yo Baltimore. These are a lot of different organizations. If you're not familiar with the Baltimore area, when you all are going through your application, we do have descriptions as well. So you can also get more insight on what these projects entail. What are these organizations about? Just to have some more context as well. Intersection of Change, we have Merit, Mission Fit, next one up in Baltimore, Squash Flies. Really excited about these projects. These were really interesting to see, like, the different ways that organizations are trying to get more of Johns Hopkins students to be involved in this service learning type work. I know, for instance, like even Heart Smiles, they are already, this is their first time being with us this year, and they're already participating in different projects with the schools. So you're really able to see how you're able to make an impact, and not just Hopkins, but the Baltimore community itself. But again, do make sure that you are reading the descriptions of these projects as you're going through your application. As I mentioned earlier, there is going to be 2 points of contact for your organization. So not just the primary preceptor, but we also want to make sure that you have someone else in the organization that can also support you as well. We have noticed, especially with a lot of the changes in higher education, a lot of changes with these organizations and funding, with the regulations, we have seen a lot of our partners sometimes lose preceptors, or hey, we're down to the only one preceptor instead. So it's very important that you all are understanding that you do have 2 people there that are there to support you. Your preceptors will also complete an online preceptor module to give them more insight as well into what SOURCE is and what we do. We'll also make sure that you all are establishing like frequent check-ins with your preceptors. So we don't expect you all to meet on a weekly basis. We do leave that autonomy up to you as far as how frequently you will meet. However, it is imperative that you all are staying in close communication so that you are having guidance throughout your project. And then, of course, you all will engage in a sustainability plan. So you'll work on your plan as far as the project over the course of 1 year. What do you all plan to do as far as tasks? What do you plan on having the volunteers work on, and so forth? You'll also complete a mid-year and final evaluation. You'll also, your preceptors will also be doing verifying your hours that you'll be putting into Hopkins Engage, and which we'll talk about in just a bit. And then, of course, just being flexible and understanding, again, there is a lot of changes that's happening that's affecting our organizations, affecting higher education and so forth. So just keeping in mind that there is sometimes you're going to have to pivot. So the Search Service Scholar, you all are expected, of course, to attend all of the Academy sessions. As Lydia mentioned earlier, these sessions will kind of range from like August until like April. Again, during the holiday times, we do not meet. We are very understanding that a lot of us go home during those times, but it is mandatory for you to attend those sessions, as well as completing the online modules, doing any reflections and assignments that may be associated with the Academy as well. And of course, building your work plan with your preceptors are also mandated. Reporting your hours regularly to the Hopkins Engage platform. It is so imperative that you all are updating those hours regularly and not waiting to the end to do it. You may oftentimes forget to put those hours in. So we want to make sure that you are getting credit for all of the hours you are putting into your project. And then recruiting and engaging at least 4 volunteers. Again, these volunteers will be from the professional health schools as well, and you will help guide them as a project manager. As well as meeting with Lydia or myself, whoever you have assigned as your advisor on a regular basis. We have not established like who will do what loads yet. However, when we do solidify our 15 scholars, we will make sure that that information is given out, as well as the frequency of how often we'll meet. Meeting regularly with your preceptor, making sure you're also completing the mid-year and the final evaluation. And then, of course, you all remaining flexible, and as well as your preceptors remaining flexible to any changes or to the program structure. Hopkins Engage, so we talked about it a little bit earlier, but Hopkins Engage is a platform that you all will utilize to go ahead and put your service hours into. It is super imperative, again, that you are keeping up with those hours. As a scholar, it's expected for you all to complete between 125 and 150 hours per year. So just make sure that you are regularly updating those hours, make sure that your preceptors as well as verifying those hours. We do try and check those on a frequent basis to make sure that we are also taking into account if we're noticing like maybe your hours are pretty low and it's already halfway through the year. So just to make sure that you are being on the lookout for any communications from Lydia and I about your service hours, and this was where you will go to put those hours in.
All right. So want to talk about how you can use your Source Service Scholar project for academic credit. So this looks a little bit different for everyone depending on what school you're in and what program you're in. So if you are unsure of how this applies to your school or program, let us know. We can assist you or connect you to the right people. But first and foremost, I want to talk about the MPH students, since you're required to do a practicum as part of your graduation requirement. So Source, our center, we are a part of the MPH practicum team. So we'll guide students through the completion of using their SSS project for the MPH practicum requirement. So I just want to name that right out the gate, that if you are an MPH student, you can use this Source Service Scholars program to completely fulfill your practicum requirement. So that's great. In order to do that, you must register for the Source Practicum Special Studies credits. But again, if you're accepted to the program and if that applies to you as an MPH student, we can guide you through that process. Likewise, you might be able to utilize the Source Service Scholars program for your capstone, or if you're part of the School of Medicine, for your School of Medicine scholarly concentration. Again, this looks a little bit different for everyone depending on your school and program. So if you're unsure of how this applies to you, reach out and let us know. This is a question we get a ton. So yes, for MPH students, this does fully complete that MPH practicum requirement. And then if you're not an MPH student, you can still, regardless of school, if you're public health, nursing, or medicine, you can still register for, there's a practicum special studies credit that you can register for. It's 1 credit, and I think you can use it for up to 2 terms. So you can get credit, like academic credit, for your Source Service Scholars project. Student application tips. So read through all of the project descriptions, first of all. So those are now posted on the Source website. And if you're registered for this info session, I'll send a follow-up email that has those links as well. So even if you can't attend the live one right now, if you're watching this recording later or registered, we'll make sure to send out that link to you, but you can also just find it on our Source website. But there are 10 projects for this round. You can select up to 2 projects in your application. And I highly recommend that you do select 2 projects to apply to. The reason why I say that, just being as transparent as possible. So for this round last year, it was very similar. I think there were 9 or maybe 10 project applications for that round. And we received, I want to say, well over 100 student applications. So if you put in your application for just 1 project, that kind of limits your chances of moving on to the interview phase. So I just want to be as transparent as possible and really, really encourage you that when you submit your application, that you really think through those 10 possible project descriptions. And, if there are 2 that you're interested in, I really encourage you to apply for those 2. If you look through all 10 CBO project descriptions and there truly is only one that you're interested in doing, then only apply for that one. But I just want to be transparent that that might limit you. Some other things to note. We never know which projects are going to be most popular. We get that question from time to time of like, oh, do I have a better chance of applying for a specific project if there's less applications for that? We can't give you that guidance. We just truly don't know like which projects will get the most interest or what that breakdown will look like. So we really encourage you to, when you're looking at the application, you're filling out the application, if you are applying for 2 projects in 1 application, that you're really marketing your skills and previous work experience, and you're really making that strong connection to the skills listed in the project description to what skills you have in your resume and in your previous experience. So just really make that link as clear as possible for both projects if you're applying to 2. Eligibility. So you must be admitted and registered for courses in public health, nursing, or medicine for your application to be considered. So this might look a little bit different for everyone because, it's May 28th today. So I know some of you might be part of the MPH program that starts this summer. Yes, that's fine. So this program starts, we'll be sending out acceptances to the 10 folks, like the first week of August. So if you are registered for courses as of the first week of August, when this program starts for this cohort, then your application can be considered. So even if you're not registered for a course that's ongoing today, if you will be by the time August 1st rolls around, then go for it, you're eligible. Scholars must be full-time students who are typically located in the greater Baltimore area. For all projects, you are required to be in person for our monthly Source Service Scholars Academy. And if you look at all 10 of the project descriptions, all of them require hybrid work. So that means that you are expected to be on site, I'd say at least 50% of the time for your service hours. So make sure that that is actually accessible for you. So if you are a person who is fully remote, but you're in the greater Baltimore area and you can make that work, that's up to your determination. But if you are not in the greater Baltimore area, if you are, let's say, remote New York or something like that, that just probably won't be feasible for you to be coming back and forth that often. So keep that in mind in terms of eligibility when you're applying for this program. The timeline, I've been referring to this a few times, so here's the full breakdown. So the deadline for your application is Monday, June 23rd by 11:59 p.m. So we will auto set the Qualtrics application to close at that time. There really will not be any flexibility on accepting late applications for this program because right away, you'll see June 24th through June 30th. Our source team, we internally review all of the applications and we notify the top applicants for each project that they're moving on to the interview round. So just want to be as clear as possible that June 23rd at 11:59 p.m., that is a very strict deadline, no exceptions whatsoever. If you are notified that you're moving on to the interview round, interviews need to take place between July 7th through July 25th. If you are not in the Baltimore area yet, or not in the Baltimore area until maybe later July or early August, that's okay. We are allowing preceptors to interview with students in person, on Zoom, or on the phone. It's kind of up for your determination along with the preceptor for that site. After that point, preceptors and students report their rank orders of preferred students and placements. And then Janae and I will kind of do some matchmaking. If you move on to the inter-review portion of this process, that unfortunately does not guarantee you a seat in those final 10, but we do our best to, give everyone their first choice. But just keep that in mind. This is a really competitive program. And then by Friday, August 1st, we'll notify the 10 finalists if they've been accepted. And then at that point, they have 5 business days to accept the opportunity. And we, have that strict deadline of 5 business days just so that we know and are not keeping other folks, hanging and waiting for that answer. And we can kind of send out all of that information to all applicants. After the acceptance is received from our team the first week of August, then your first Academy session will be on Wednesday, August 20th from 5 to 8 p.m. at the School of Public Health. And that session is only offered in person. So you do need to make sure that you are here on campus and can be at the School of Public Health Wednesday, August 20th from 5 to 8 p.m. So I do recommend marking your calendars for that now, but that's the full student application timeline. All right, we're going to pivot to some frequently asked questions. We have some to start us out, and I'll pass that over to Janae.
All right, so typically the question that we will often get is how and when will the stipend be distributed? So with the stipend, you all receive half of your payment when you finish at least half of your hours, again, between that 120, 125, 150 range. So once you finish that first half, we'll go ahead and we start the process to initiate half of your payment. Once you've made it to the 125, 150 mark, then we will initiate the second half of payment, and that's when you'll get it. Again, you must confirm like your assignment, like make sure that your hours are being updated regularly. So this is why it's like super imperative, because we do want to make sure you are getting paid for the work, but we can't do that if the hours are not being logged. So please make sure that's being done in a timely manner. Can I continue as a scholar after the academic year ends? And the answer is no. So the Source Service Scholars Program is only a one-year initiative. We oftentimes will even see with some of the CBOs that they are able to even sometimes keep our scholars on and even maybe offer them a position afterwards. That is something that you can possibly work out with the relationship that you build with the organization, and of course, what they're able to bring on to their team. However, as far as being a scholar, it is a one-year program only. When will I be assigned a source service staff advisor, and how often will we meet with my advisors? So again, Lydia and I will serve as the source service scholars advisors. Once we have our 15 scholars, we will then send letters out to let them know like who will be their advisor. We'll get all that information out to them. And of course, by the first session that you have on August 20th, you'll also know too how frequently you'll be meeting with your advisor. You'll get a chance to meet with us as well, and you'll get more information from there. Do I have to attend all the Source Service Scholar Academy sessions? And the answer is yes. So it is a part of the commitment. So when you're signing up for this, you're not just signing up for the project. Your job is not just to work with the CBO and to do the work with the CBO, but also to continue with the work with Source. So that is also getting more development and more support during those sessions as well. We already have the date scheduled out. So when we have our 15 that we are selecting, they'll also get this information too. So you'll have full advance notice on all these dates in order to make sure that you're able to attend the session. Is the community outreach program COP at the School of Nursing and SSS program the same program, or are they separate? These are two separate entities. Although the COP program, just like SSS, is an entire year-long program that still works with Baltimore nonprofits, these are two separate programs. So please make sure if you're interested in COP that you're applying for COP and not doing Source Service Scholar.
And COP, those applications for the School of Nursing, that'll open up in the fall. So stay tuned if you are interested in that program.
Okay. You want to do it? Cool. So can I choose my own CBO? So no, you're not able to choose your own CBO. We already have our partners, which we did show in the previous slides, the 10 projects that we have. Those are the 10 you have to choose from. You have to choose from that list. There is no other list that you're able to choose from with that. Do I have to have a reference? So yes, you do need to have a reference. When you move to the interview round is when we contact the references. We will not contact them as soon as you all turn in your application on Qualtrics. So we'll wait until we actually get to the interview round. This program is super competitive. And we know once you get to the interview round is when we need to kind of have a better understanding of your work history and so forth. As Lydia mentioned earlier, I want to make sure that I continue to express that this process is very competitive. I have worked with students in person and I've seen phenomenal work from them. However, looking at like applications and seeing, you're not focusing on the skills that you bring to the project. Again, there is a lot of applicants. With your applications, that is your first impression that you have on us. And so we need to make sure that you are putting your best foot forward there. And then again, with the interview part, once we get to contacting your references, please make sure that you're picking a reference who can really speak into your character. We want to make sure that you have a reference as well that will be willing to do this during a timely manner. These are summer months, so you want to make sure that you're being cognizant of that as well. Why do you need 2 preceptors? Again, as we mentioned earlier in the presentation, there is a lot of times that our organizations may get busy. Sometimes they may be short-staffed, or they could be undergoing changes due to a lot of the new regulations that's going on. We want to make sure that no matter what, that you all have some support at the organization as well. So it is always required to have 2 preceptors. If there's ever a moment where you're aware that there is some changes in staff, so your preceptor maybe has left, you're not getting the support that you need, these are things that you bring to the attention to Lydia and I, so that we can make sure that we are having conversations with the organization to ensure that we get 2 preceptors for you at all times. Can international students apply? Yes, international students can apply. Again, we just want to make sure that you all are very much so understanding that this is a Baltimore-based opportunity. So if you know, like, hey, I am not going to be able to make it to Baltimore frequently, or I live really far, that is something to keep in mind, because most of the projects are either hybrid or really require a lot of in-person work. And then the last one, do the 4 volunteers need to be from my school? And the volunteers will need to come from the professional health schools. And again, Lydia and I will be supporting you all through this time to kind of help you and guide you through the support necessary for recruitment and getting more volunteers for your projects. And then I want to open the floor up to any questions that you all may have. Feel free to come off mute if you'd like to type it in the chat. Please feel free to do so as well. You just did a great job and no one asked questions. Oh, go ahead, Sylvester.
I have a question about the references. Do you mean like they will need to like write like a reference letter for us, or we just need to input their details?
So you will input like as far as like their number, their email address. We will then send an email to them, letting them know what we need from them, what we need them to complete, and so forth. So all we'll need is the information of your two references.
Okay.
Perfect. Yeah, and when someone moves to the interview round, that's when the references are contacted, and it's just a survey that they'll need to fill out, kind of rating your abilities on certain things and providing some comments. So it's not like a formal
Right.
letter that they're writing and submitting. It's a survey link that they'll receive. So just want to clarify that too.
Yeah, and so what I mean by, especially because it's summer months and you want to make sure you're picking someone that can speak into your character, but as well as in a timely manner, because they might be on vacation and different things like that. You all are not like getting a letter from them. Like Lydia said, we need the information, so like their email address, and then we send them the survey, which needs to be completed in a timely manner. So that's all that's necessary, and again, that's only once you all have moved to the interview stage. Any other questions? Well, if there is no more questions, again, we really appreciate you all taking time out today to learn a little bit more about the Source Service Scholar Program. Our applications, again, are open, and the deadline is Monday, June 23rd, 11:59. It will close promptly. We do have a QR code that'll take you straight to the application as well, but you can also locate it on our Source website. And then, of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out at storage@jhu.edu. And at the end of this presentation, probably within the next day or so, we'll also be sure to send you all the recording as well as the slides as well, if you have any other questions from there.
All right, that's all we've got for you. Oh, I see one chat box.
Perfect.
Oh, perfect. Okay, awesome. All right, well, thank you so much, everyone. Take care.
Bye.